Hello everyone. Today, I'm going to show you how to turn this interactive Power BI financial KPI dashboard into yours. With this dashboard, you can showcase the most important metrics to your organization, and best of all, you do not need to set this up from ground zero. As you can see on the screen right now, this dashboard is able to show the organization performance against different comparatives, budget, forecast, and prior year. The bottom two charts also provide insights on key metrics such as net revenue by showing their monthly trend and the region performance against the selected comparatives. Better still, you are able to change to view operating expenses or the gross margin. As the dashboard is already fully set up, you do not need to work on the data model or write any DAX formula. All you need to do is to download the free dashboard template and replace the essentials setting. Once you are done, just upload your own dataset. Going forward, with new data inputs, the dashboard will be updated automatically to reflect the latest data. Also, as part of the bonus, I have included the income statement and balance sheet view for those to enjoy reading numbers from these layout. Alright, before we go further, let us cover the two main concerns that most people have when setting up a financial dashboard. First, reporting period, or also known as fiscal year. Different organization may have different reporting period. Some start from April month to March, while there are others who do July to June. This template has catered for this aspect. As part of the essential setting, you need to update the reporting period, which I will show you in a while. Next, incomplete month reporting. Financial reviews are usually conducted after the month close, but the transactions or data entries are still ongoing. So most dashboards will capture the latest figures, which includes the current incomplete month. This will cause a huge dip in the latest month, and the chart will look weird as it is comparing against the full month budget. To avoid showing such abnormality for the financial review, most people have to manually adjust the figures or to uncheck the dates of current month. For this dashboard template, there is no need for any manual adjustment. Only figures from completed month will be picked up. Alright, it is time to get down to work. We will turn this dashboard into yours in 3 simple steps. Step 1. Download the template. You can get the download link is provided in the description below. These files are free for download and no sign up is required. The first file is the Power BI file for the dashboard. The second one is the Excel file that contains the dataset, including the parameters and layout for the setup. And the last file is just the layout sample in Excel. After downloading, we need to extract them from the zip file as shown, and we are done with step 1. Let's move on to step 2, which is replace the essentials. Essentials are parameters or layout that you need to set up in order to customize the dashboard for your use. Let's duplicate a copy of the 0 file for the new content first, so that we can still refer to the original download copy. Then open the file, and we will start from updating the reporting period or fiscal period. At the first worksheet, Parameters, select the start month of your reporting period from the drop-down list. The file will automatically populate the fiscal end month below. At this worksheet, you can find the end month number highlighted in green. This number is required to update the BI file later. Next, we will move on to the second worksheet, Layout. This is where you provide the financial layout of your organization. The 03 file is a sample of what I used to report in Excel before converting to Power BI. It is a sample cut out as the original file is huge with columns for different months and period. And this is what it looks like in Power BI. They look pretty much the same, except that it gets populated automatically in BI now. Okay, before we get cracking on the layout, let me spend a minute on the layout concept in the template, as it may be confusing for some. Once you understand the concept, it is pretty simple and straightforward. There are only 3 levels of hierarchy. The lowest level is the account code, also known as GL account, and they get mapped to the level 2 of the layout using a primary key. And finally, the level 2 of the layout get roll up to level 1 of the layout. As you can see, the level 1 and level 2 of the layout resides at the layout worksheet, while the account code is at the GL mapping worksheet. You can either start working from the layout worksheet or the GL mapping worksheet, as there is no difference, just which direction you are more comfortable to start with. For me, I prefer to work out the overall layout view first, as mapping the account codes to the level 2 will be a breeze once the primary keys are already done. Let's go back to the Excel file. We will start by clearing out the layout template. First, delete the content of those columns with headers highlighted in yellow. For those column headers in white, they are already formulated to save time. Now that the layout template is ready, we will work on how to convert the manual Excel layout into this template. Let me input the column headers here first. Instead of inputting the lines one by one, we will copy all the lines to the level 2 column. This is like the base, where we will remove those that are not required. This way, it is easier than keying them one by one. Then we will delete those that are not showing any numbers. These are just subtitle rows without numbers. Next, we will delete those that are in blue, as they are not level 2 items. If you remember the layout concept, level 2 retrieves their values from GL accounts, but these are calculation lines. After we finish the level 2 items, we need to indicate the level 1 that they roll up to at the level 1 column. As shown at the layout on the left side, they are referring to those lines in bold. For example, operating revenue and intercompany revenue roll up to gross revenue. And for discount, it is still discount. Let me do the same for the rest. Also, I will input some under the calculation column, as these rows are summing up from the GL accounts. Now, we will add those calculation rows, such as net invoiced revenue, at the level 1 column, and for their calculation column, I will put calculation. Alright, we are almost done. Only left to insert the rows for blank and lines. For my income statement layout, I want to show those lines that are in my existing manual layout. For example, at the position above the net invoiced revenue, so I will insert a row here. And for the line, I need to grab one of the rows showing the line at the original download file and paste here. Then input blank under the calculation field to differentiate it from the others. I will do the same for the rest of the rows for lines. Let me speed it up so that we can move faster. The last step before copying over to the layout worksheet is to clean up. We will remove those rows that are showing blank at level 1 column. We will also remove the dash showing at the level 2 column to make it neater. Now let me put the files side by side so that it is easier to see. We will paste the data into their respective columns in the layout worksheet. Okay, let me make the layout worksheet bigger. Once we transfer the data over, we will input income statement at the column statement. Then we will start with the primary key. Input 101 for the first row and 102 for the second row. Then drag down to autofill for the rest of the rows. Next, we will go to the columns for from and to. These are fields to indicate the primary keys for the system retrieval and computation. As their name implies, the from column is for the primary key of the row to start the computation, and the to column is to indicate the primary key to end the computation. Let's work on one to show you what this means. We will work on those rows tag with calculation first. Starting with the net invoiced revenue, it is adding up from operating revenue to discount. So, I will input 101 at the from, and for the to, you may input the number that is one lesser from the primary key of the current row, which in this instance will be 104. Next, the net revenue. Let me bring back the old manual layout. It should be adding net invoiced revenue with returns and adjustment. But for net invoiced revenue, it is a calculation field, meaning there is no GL account tag to it. So we have to input 101, as the net invoiced revenue is the summation of 101 to 104. For the to column, it will be 108, which is the primary key of current row, less 1. So, if you think about it, for income statement, the calculation rows are basically totaling up all the primary key from the top 101. So they should all start from 101 for the from column. For their to column, it will depend on the point that the calculation is up to. Alright, let me input for the rest of the calculation rows. Then for the sum rows, we will indicate their own primary key. And for the blank rows, we will input 0. We are almost done for the income statement layout. Just one last part, which is the column sign. We need to tag -1 for rows that are negative in nature, such as the expenses. We will enter -1 for these rows. This is to allow the system to identify the lines or items that are negative in nature and handle them differently from the revenue items. For the rest, we will just tag as 1. Okay, we are done with the income statement layout. Pretty simple, right? We will move on to the balance sheet layout. The concept is similar, so I will not repeat the explanation in detail and quickly show you how it is done. Again, let me copy the header over and do the draft next to the old manual layout. Same as before, copy all the items over to level 2. Delete those that do not have any number in the old manual layout. Delete those blue highlighted rows. Input the level 1 that they row up into, and input sum at the calculation column. Next we will copy those blue highlighted lines to level 1, and input calculation at the calculation column. Now we are left with just the rows for line and blank. For the balance sheet view in BI, I made a little change to the format. Let me show you the new format in BI. I prefer showing more spaces, instead of lines in the old manual layout. For the lines, I only kept 2 for the assets total, and equity and liabilities total. Let me add them in first. Okay. For the blank rows that I use for the subtotals, I insert them at the position that I wanted and input blank for the calculation column. Finally, clean it up a little, delete away those unwanted blank rows, as well as removing those dashes at level 2. And copy over to the layout worksheet. Similar to the earlier process, input balance sheet at the statement column first. Then for the primary key, I will start with 201 for the first row and 202 for the second row, then autofill for the rest of the rows. For the from and to columns, again, we will start with those tagged with calculation first. The first one, non-current assets total, it is summing up from 201, so we will input 201 at the from, and same as before, 205 for the to column. Next, current assets total, it is summing up from 207, so we will input 207 at the from, and 211 for the to. As mentioned earlier, the from and to columns are to tell the system which primary key to sum, so for the assets total, we need to sum from 201 to 213. Let me quickly input for the rest of the rows. Again, for those rows tagged with sum, just input their primary key, and those with blank, it will be 0. For the last column sign, it will be 1 for all the rows. There, we are done with the layout worksheet. This is in fact the most difficult part in the replacement exercise, the rest are quite simple. For the GL mapping, you just need to get ready all the GL accounts and map them to their respective primary keys. For me, I will input the primary key at the chart of accounts table first. This is a one-time setup which may be tiring for the first time. After this, you do not need to update this worksheet unless there are new GL accounts created or changes need to be made to the layout or existing GL accounts. Once they are all done, copy and paste them over at the GL mapping worksheet. Next, we will move on to the Select KPI worksheet. This is related to the KPI cards that is showing on the dashboard. The first column is referring to the metric or items that the cards are meant for example, revenue. And the second column, match name, is to tell the system which item are you tagging from the layout for the data. It has to match the exact name shown at the layout worksheet. We need to do this because different organization may be using different terms in their layout, so the system would not be able to know which field to relate to for these KPI. I also need to indicate which level and statement is it from. For the level, if you are not sure, you can look at the column down for reference. Let me fill in for the rest. Okay, Moving to the next worksheet, select line. This is the bonus that I was referring to. Let me toggle to the BI. Besides the overview dashboard, I also included the table view for both the income statement and balance sheet. The top selection for year, comparatives and period is synced to the dashboard. You do not have to reselect when you are diving further into the numbers. This is also to prevent instances where the users are checking against two different sets of parameters during the review. The two charts at the side will show the details of the individual level to lines performance, and this drop-down list is based on the select line worksheet that we need to work on. Going back to the Excel, we will copy the level to items from the layout worksheet to the select line worksheet, and we are done with all the essential setup. The third and last step, replace your data. This is the step where you will be replacing the dashboard data into your data. If you like my video so far, do click on the subscribe button at the bottom right of the screen. Alright, let's start with business area. This worksheet shows the geographic region of the business transactions. It is used to populate these two charts at the dashboard and details page to provide insights of the performance from different regions. For those who do not have regional segments, you can use this worksheet to provide breakdown in terms of business segments, business categories, or even departments in your organization. This is possible as long as you are able to provide their segment information at the actual, budget, and forecast data. With this, let's move on to the first data file, transactions. This is where you will provide the actual data down to GL accounts and business area. I am leaving it simple with only 4 fields, as different organizations may have different data files, and we only need these for the dashboard. Also to note, the worksheet transactions only contains data relating to the income statement. Same goes for PL budget and PL forecast worksheets. The other data worksheets, BS month snapshot, BS budget snapshot and BS forecast snapshot contains data relating to balance sheet. We have a total of 6 data sheets, 3 for each statement. I have split them into 2 sets, because for balance sheet, it is a snapshot view of that month we are reporting, so we only load the snapshot data. For income statement, it adds up all the transactions for that month. Alright, back to the data files for income statement. The PL budget file is to provide the budget figures for the items under the income statement. As we all know, for budgeting, most organizations do not budget down to GL accounts. So instead of providing the GL account, this worksheet requires primary key only. And similar to the actual transaction, you need to provide the business area so that the dashboard can retrieve the comparative for the chart. The next worksheet, PL forecast, is exactly the same as the PL budget worksheet. Same rationale. For forecasting, most organizations do not go down to GL accounts. Even if they do, I am sure they are able to provide the template with level 2, which is the higher level of data. Moving on next, the BS month snapshot. This worksheet contains the actual snapshot view of the balance sheet GL account for the month. As I do not have the region breakdown, I tagged them all to one which represent HQ reporting. If you have the same issue, you may do so too. The next 2 worksheet, BS budget snapshot and BS forecast snapshot, are similar to the PL worksheets. They are at the primary key instead of the GL account level. Once you updated these data worksheets, we are only left with refreshing the BI file. Right, let's open the BI file now. For those of you who do not have Power BI Desktop yet, you can download it for free at the Microsoft website. I have included the link in the description. After you open the BI file, click on Transform Data button. This will bring us to the query view. To update the data source setting, click on Data Source Setting button at the top. Then select the only file that is being shown and click on Change Source. Now click on Browse and navigate to the folder where you have saved the file for your own dataset. The BI file will automatically replace all the data with the file that you have specified. While we are still in the query view, we need to update the reporting period. Remember, there are 2 areas in the BI file that we need to provide the end month number. Here's the first one. Click on Dim Date at the left side of the screen. then under the applied steps at the right side, click on Fiscal Year and Month. You will see 6, as this template was set up for the reporting period from July to June month. To replace it with your end month number, click on the bar and type in your number. Then press Enter key. Once you are done, click on the last line under the applied steps. To exit the query view and load the data, go to the top left corner and click on the button, Close and Apply. The BI file will start to load your data. Give it some time. After BI completed the load, we are only left with one last part to update. Go to the right side, under Measure Table. Click on the arrow to expand it. The first item below it, Fiscal Year and Month, is the second area that we need to update. Click on it. The bar will show the number 6 again. To change it, click on the bar, delete the 6 and input the number for your end month, then press Enter. And we are done. Yes, the dashboard is now showing your data. You can play around with the dashboard. Everything is already set up for your use. Going forward, you just need to update that 6 data worksheets and click this refresh button at the top for the dashboard to be automatically updated. I hope you like this KPI dashboard template for your work or learning. I will be working on my next template for sharing. Do let me know what dashboard do you all want to see. Is it sales? Or more human resource or procurement? Let me know. I will see you in the next video.